Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of PWS United. I'm here with Carrie.
Hello.
Hi, Carrie. So we are just going to get right into it today because we do have another interview that we want to insert into this pulse, and it is with Carrie's sister, who is an occupational therapist, and it's a very lovely interview about occupational therapy, what it looks like, what it benefits, and how it can relate to PWS. So this episode is from last week's Pulse, Volume 121, came out on April 18th, 2025, and on Friday, the countdown to conference was 67 days. I don't know how quick you are at math, but
I think that's 64 today.
Okay.
From Angela sent us a note this morning, and she's like, 64 days, 23 minutes.
Right. She had it down to the seconds. That's right.
Yes, specific countdown for us.
Yeah, perfect. So we just wanted to let you guys know that we're counting down to that. And we do want to put this disclaimer out, and we sincerely apologize for having to make this disclaimer, but we were unaware of how big the response was going to be for conference. So we are now, unfortunately, in the position of needing to implement a capacity limit for the family program, and that is on June 27th and June 28th. And this is to ensure that we remain in compliance with the Arizona Grand Resort and Spa's fire code regulations. This measure is necessary to prioritize the safety and comfort of all attendees. So as of today, we have 46 spots left.
Right.
And this will be coming out the day after we record. So this is coming out on Tuesday. So basically you get the idea. So if you've been thinking about coming to the conference and you weren't sure, I would definitely say get on it because we apologize. It's incredible that so many people want to come and have been, making this happen. It's just unfortunate that we had to kind of cap it off. So you will find a link to register for the conference in the show notes. We also have the Professional Providers High-Level Schedule is now available for download. The Professional Providers is on June 25th and June 26th, which is the Wednesday and Thursday of conference. And there's an incredible lineup of expert-led sessions covering key topics like PWS residential services across the globe, the development of a PWS-specific respite service, and looking beyond poor lean mass and growth hormone deficiency, why is exercise more difficult for people with PWS? And there's so much more. So each session and workshop is designed to support professional providers in the PWS space and offer opportunities to connect, learn, and grow. A finalized agenda with our speakers will be released closer to the conference, and there will be a link to the Professional Providers Program schedule and a link to the Family Program schedule in our show notes. Our PWSA memory for this pulse was about welcoming international members. So in January of 1976, the Gathered View, which was the newsletter for Prader-Willi syndrome parents and friends, which was also PWSA's original name, in January of 1976, they celebrated the first international members to the organization. The article reads as follows: Prader-Willi syndrome parents and friends now has an international membership. Among our new members, we welcome 2 from England and 1 from Australia. Our English members live in the same county and have already become acquainted. Total membership is now 51, and that was from the Gathered View, Volume 2, Number 1, so one of the very first editions that ever came out. Now, since then, the number of families outside of the United States that PWSA USA helps has grown exponentially. Countries include Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, Sudan, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Syria, Palestine, France, Canada, Italy, Belgium, Australia, Ukraine, China, Colombia, Mexico, and India. That's a lot of countries. With organizations like PWSA USA and IPSO, which is the International Prader-Willi Syndrome Organization, PWS families around the world can stay updated on research, knowledge, and growing standard practices of care. We are happy to support and celebrate our growing PWS community. And again, that will be happening in June with our conference where families from around the world are coming together and we all get to hang out and meet each other and just build our community even more. Our spotlight on hope this week. This was submitted by Adeline Iriegas, and she says, "Hello, PWS community. We wanted to share a proud moment in honor of our daughter, Addie, 5 years old, who completed her first race yesterday. She took off at the start line and pushed hard running. I was by her side, coaching her to pace herself, breathe, and motivate her to keep going. I know she was tired, but this girl never stopped, and quitting was not an option for her. She kicked it into high gear toward the end across the finish line and earned her medal. She never gives up, continues to fight daily, and believes in herself as we do. We must advocate for our loved ones and always remind them what they are truly capable of, despite the obstacles that may come their way. We want to thank PWS America for always being there as support and guidance for our families. The sky is the limit, and we can only get better from here. May this be the first of many finish lines for Addie Ray." So, congratulations, Addie. That is incredible. A 5-year-old running any kind of race
Mm,
is very impressive to me, especially a 5-year-old with PWS. And the
yeah.
pictures are so cute. And you can tell she's working hard and she's got her little sweatband on her head. So cute.
I love the one of someone dressed as a piñata and she has like a piñata bat that
Yeah.
she's holding. I'm like, who? I wonder who that is and if that's fun as part of the fun of the event or a parent or family member. I'm not sure. I love it either way. It's a great addition.
That's really cute. I didn't realize that's what they were dressed as, but yeah, now that you point that out, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, they're a piñata."
So cute.
Yeah, so thank you for sending that in, Adeline, and if you would like to share your spotlight on hope, there will be a link to do that in the show notes.
Okay, moving on to some events and fundraisers for the PWS community. First up, we have a PWS community town hall sharing experiences with VICAT XR. So, this webinar is actually taking place today, April 22nd. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific tonight. So, if you're listening to it earlier in the day on Tuesday, you still have time. Please register. We'll have the link in the show notes. And unfortunately, this is not going to be recorded because it is an intimate setting. It's going to be a lot of opportunity for Q&A among the participants. So, just a little disclaimer there before I get into some of the details here. So, PWS families and caregivers are invited to a virtual town hall focused on VICAT XR, the first FDA approved medication for treating hyperphagia in individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome ages 4 and older. This informal, community led town hall is a no host forum designed as a space for families and caregivers to share their personal experiences with VICAT XR, ask questions, and learn from one another. So please note this session is intended for peer to peer discussion. Medical advice will not be provided. And this town hall is intended for US based caregivers and individuals with Prader Willi syndrome. And to ensure, again, a safe and supportive environment, PWSA USA and FPWR will verify all registrants to confirm caregiver status. And then registration will be approved once verification is complete. And then for the privacy of attendees, like I said, the town hall will not be recorded. So this actually already happened, this next event, but we still want to put a spotlight on it because it is a very important group in our community. So the PWS BIPOC Affinity Group held a virtual chat yesterday as just kind of a meet and greet, getting to know the community members, inviting more people in to join the group, answering any questions people have. And I'm sure, Annie, they will have more like this in the future. Interested BIPOC or caregivers of BIPOC individuals are encouraged to email BIPOC That's BIPOC PWS at gmail.com to obtain future meeting links. And on behalf of PWS BIPOC Affinity Group organizers Charles, Janelle, Corrine, and Deanie, they hope to connect with everyone soon. An event that is coming up is creating financial security for a loved one with PWS Financial Planning Webinar. And this will take place on Wednesday, May 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So join us for this educational workshop to learn more about special needs planning. Topics covered will include an overview of supplemental security income and Social Security disability insurance, Medicaid and waivers, ABLE accounts, special needs trusts, and other important considerations to help family members better understand how planning for a child with special needs is different both legally and financially. This webinar is presented by Ivalo Grigorov, a financial advisor and special needs parent to Luca, who is 8 years old and has a diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome. Ivalo realizes that families like ours can benefit from a comprehensive plan that can guide them through the years and can ultimately maximize a child's overall quality of life. Ivalo's team primarily works with families who have a loved one with disabilities who will require some support not only now, but in the distant future. Ivalo's goal is to serve as the quarterback for the family's planning. I love that. Educate on the most effective ways to save, optimize, and protect our loved ones' futures, and ultimately provide peace of mind. So we encourage everyone to register for this very helpful, informative webinar at the link in our show notes. We also want to put a spotlight on Zara's Night of Light. I know we've mentioned this a couple of times in the Pulse, but we have a nice little recap to share and some beautiful photos from the event at the link in our show notes. You can go and find those. And we really want to put a big thank you out to the Dorson family and the generosity of their community for helping to raise more than $70,000 to support PWSA USA's family support, advocacy, and research programs. We are just so incredibly grateful. So again, go check out the photo gallery in our show notes. And we do have another Hope United event that's coming up in the North Carolina area. It's a 5K and family fun run, and it's going to take place Saturday, May 3rd at 9 a.m. Eastern at the Greater Wilson Rotary Park in Wilson, North Carolina. A really great way to kick off PWS Awareness Month for those living in the area. So you can register to attend or sponsor the NC Hope United 5K and Family Fun Run in support of individuals living with PWS. Proceeds from the event will benefit PWSA USA's advocacy, family support, and research programs to find a treatment for PWS. So learn more, register, or donate by using the link in our show notes. And one final plug, I know that it's only a couple weeks away, but there is still time to host a United We brunch event in your area. Annie, how are things coming on your end for that? Not to put you
Uh,
on the spot.
they're going a little slow. I've had a few other big things in my life that are happening before, so it's a
Yeah,
little on the back burner. But I know some people are coming and they're excited, and I'm excited for it. And once I get past this next thing where I'm teaching poetry in the high school next week, once I get past that, then I can think about this.
yeah. Poetry
So,
and then more poetry. I love it.
poetry, then more poetry.
And I think, Annie, that's the beauty of this campaign and this kind of effort is that it's at your pace. It is completely at your level of what you can do in your life, like what you're capable of. So it can be as big or as small or as detailed or not as possible. And you're living proof of that. So
Yeah,
setting a good balanced example. I love it,
yeah,
honestly.
good.
So, if anyone out there is still interested in hosting one of these great events, please contact our Hope United team. You can reach out to them at hopeunited@pwsausa.org. And we also have a link to get started, and we'll have that in the show notes. Additionally, we'll also have our PWS Awareness Month Hub link in the show notes for those just looking to do other general awareness activities or simple social media posts, anything like that for the month of May. You can find it there.
Sounds good. And and just a quick little plug for podcast listeners in case you missed last week's episode. It was our very first episode with Nurse Lynn. So that was really fun to have her on and
Mhm.
go through some of the more popular topics that come up on Nurse Lynn and get her to just kind of explain it in person in a
Yeah.
way. So that was really cool. And in advocacy, this we have two Proclamation Month updates. So the first one is from New Hampshire, and this was submitted by Elaine Toll, our advocacy specialist and mom to James, who is an adult living with PWS. And Elaine wrote, Governor Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire recently signed a proclamation declaring May 2025 as Prader-Willi Syndrome Awareness Month in the state of New Hampshire. We are delighted to have her support to raise awareness of PWS and the New Hampshire families living with it. Requesting a proclamation was really easy. First, identify who you want to ask, your state senator or representative, or the governor. Then use the tools in the PWS Awareness Month Proclamation Toolkit to craft a letter. Give the office you contact at least 2 or 3 weeks' notice and ask for a formal presentation and photo op. We haven't been successful with that last part yet, but I'll keep trying. So
I love her honesty.
I know. Thank you, Elaine. We appreciate that. Glad you're going to keep trying. And we have one that's happening in New York, and our own Stacy Ward is going to be a part of this. We're thrilled to share that New York State is officially recognizing PWS Awareness Day thanks to a resolution filed by Senator Jake Ashby. This is an incredible step forward in raising awareness for Prader-Willi syndrome. Even more exciting, Stacy Ward, Jeff Covington, Amy, Harry Noel, and Logan McDougall will be present in Albany on May 15th to witness the resolution's acceptance during the Senate session. What a powerful moment for the PWS community. So we have our proclamation toolkit, and it provides everything you need to take action, including step-by-step guidance, sample cover letters for reaching out to local and state officials, and inspiring success stories from PWS families who have done it before. So if you would like to check out this proclamation toolkit, there will be a link for that in our show notes.
All right, now moving on to family support section, and we're going to start here with our special guest. I am very biased about this guest. She is, as Annie mentioned before, my sister, and she is a licensed and registered occupational therapist. I am so proud of her, as you'll hear me say in this interview I did with her. But she is incredibly smart. She has so much great experience with this. And I just have to say, really quick before we get into it, that she has wanted to be an occupational therapist since she was 10 years old,
Oh,
which is
wow.
amazing. Amazing. I did not even know
How does she
what I
know?
was doing at 10 years old. Like, what was I
Right.
even doing? Right. So
I was watching Scooby
I'm
Doo.
amazed. I was probably just watching Scooby Doo. Yeah, exactly.
How did she know there was an occupational how did she know
Like,
that
what
was a
even what
thing?
that was. I know, isn't it funny? So, one of my parents' best friends was an occupational therapist, and I wanna say she just was talking about her job one day, and she worked primarily with pediatric patients, and my sister always loved babies and kids, and so I think she just heard kind of that exchange going on, and I want to work with kids and babies and help them. And she's always had a very empathetic spirit since she was little, and she's just developed it, and it's just grown more and more as she's gotten older. And I think that made it very clear to her that that was just the thing that she was going to pursue. I won't
Right.
keep bragging about her. We can just listen to her.
Well, I love it. And
Yeah.
we did wanna make one little disclaimer that she does not yet work directly with any individuals with PWS. But I listened to it, and I thought it was very helpful, and it does apply. So I think it was a great interview and very helpful
Yeah.
for the PWS community.
Yeah, if anything, it will do what we're setting out to do here, raise awareness on the importance of OT. So take a listen.
Hi, I'm Christy. I am Carrie's sister, and I am a licensed and registered occupational therapist at Oakwood Village Skilled Rehab Facility in Madison, Wisconsin. I that is with older adults, but I do have some experience working with pediatric patients. What drew me to OT work was the opportunity to help people build practical, everyday skills that improve their quality of life. OT is such a hands-on, creative field, and I love the holistic approach we take, working on everything from motor skills to behavior and sensory regulation.
Well, thank you so much, Christy, for lending your talents and expertise to this subject during National OT Awareness Month. I'm very lucky to have you at my disposal. Can I just say? But we do have a couple of topics that I really wanted to discuss. And actually, some of our communication work group members brought up these specific topics. So the first topic that I really wanted to talk about was sensory integration and then how OT support it.
Yeah, so sensory integration is so important. It's honestly how we live our lives. We use all of our senses to get through the day, including visual, auditory, vestibular, proprioception, knowing where your body is in space. All of those things help us function throughout our daily lives. And occupational therapy can play a really important role in implementing those senses, or even just like providing the support that children, or honestly anyone, needs to support their ability to function in the school or at home and even during their daily activities. So sensory integration is how our brain processes and responds to information from our senses. When someone has difficulty with that, like being overly sensitive or under responsive to touch or sound, it can affect how they move through the world. In OT, we use sensory-based strategies to help regulate the nervous system and support engagement in daily life. For individuals with PWS who may experience sensory processing differences, this work can help reduce anxiety and improve focus and comfort, as well as behavior. So just regulating how someone, if their emotions are kind of out of control or they're feeling really anxious, knowing what strategies to use to help that individual feel more comfortable and know how to implement on their own. And you can use it daily, like use these strategies daily just so that they can feel comfortable and ready to learn or ready to tackle their day. Some examples of sensory system strategies that I have found are really helpful. So I'll go through each of the senses and kind of touch on one strategy that has been used a lot in occupational therapy as an intervention. So for the visual system, if someone has a hypersensitive visual system, or if they get headaches really easily, reducing the glare in the room just to help them focus and complete their tasks. Auditory, if someone has hypersensitivity to noise, using noise canceling headphones. And tactile, if someone is hypersensitive to touch or how things feel, like textures, using compression garments, as well as if someone has hyposensitivity, so not responding quickly to sensations, and if they're sensory seeking, using fidgets or offering fidgets and other objects to keep their hands busy and allow them to focus on the task that they're doing. For vestibular, using slow rocking movements and allowing the vestibular system to settle after an active time and before doing a quiet activity. I would also say encouraging swinging and jumping, maybe doing some dances. There's a lot of YouTube videos that are appropriate for children, and just incorporating those in your daily lives or daily routines, especially if you notice that maybe your child is getting a little antsy or maybe is experiencing some behavioral outbursts. Incorporating some movement breaks is a good example of how to fulfill the vestibular system. And then proprioceptive, this can go for some more like sensory seeking behavior, but using deep pressure is a good option. So deep pressure massage, a weighted blanket, it can really provide that anxiety relief or just making someone feel comfortable.
Having been around the PWS community for several years now, I've seen some of these sensory implementations in their lives, which is actually amazing to hear. You say that they're super helpful and just encouraged in the OT world, because I know that Annie's daughter, Freya, loves to do dance parties in her house and just loves to dance around, which is amazing. So that sounds like a great sensory integration.
Right. Everybody deserves a good dance party. It's good for able-bodied individuals as well, like just kind of brings you back to your senses and grounds you.
Absolutely. 100%. I also love a good dance party. So
Everybody needs a good sensory diet. So just making your sensory preferences so personalized to you, and you know what you need in that moment. And as the child would get older and have these sensory strategies in place, like they'll know when something is coming on. So like a behavior, or using like the zones of regulation, like if they're in the red zone, using those sensory strategies to bring them back to the green zone, and just kind of understanding how they express their emotions, and so that you can see it as well, and offering that compression hug, or offering a dance party. Yeah. Or right, a weighted blanket or headphones. There's so many things that you can do to support someone who needs a sensory diet.
And something easy that you can bring back home and carry out long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah. And in a school setting too. I know that in schools the OTs and PTs they're good about evaluating and understanding how the child learns. But if your child, if you notice that they are learning really well using one strategy, you can bring that to your school, to that OT, and just like see if they can incorporate that into school to help with their learning capabilities as well.
Yeah. I love that. Among the communications work group, there was also a unanimous agreement that OT is a standard of care for individuals with PWS and is something that should be sought out as early as possible, again, to implement and integrate these important skills. So, why is it important to introduce OT early in life for individuals with complex needs like PWS?
So, yeah, it is super important to introduce OT early in life. The earlier we can begin supporting development, the more we can build a strong foundation for lifelong skills. Early OT helps with things like motor coordination, communication, sensory regulation, and participation in routines for children with PWS or other complex needs. And this can mean better outcomes, later in school or work and social environments. Receiving occupational therapy is a standard of care. Um, Everyone who has PWS or autism or any complex needs should have access to occupational therapy services, or even PT or speech. It's a necessary component to help you and your family and child succeed and help them grow their skills so that they can lead a more autonomous life throughout adulthood.
Yeah, I think it's especially important for our newly diagnosed parents, first learning about PWS, coming into things. I know they're already learning a lot all at once, but implementing OT, at least at some point at an earlier age in life, is just something that we want to make sure people know. Um, Again, standard of care, very important. So, our next question here is, how does OT support behavior regulation and social engagement?
It's a great question. So, a big part of our work is helping individuals understand and manage their own behaviors. We do this by providing tools and strategies that support regulation. Some of those tools can be through a cognitive behavioral approach. So that could include helping patients identify and challenge negative or irrational thoughts and beliefs that may be hindering their performance and independence. Another one could be using a collaborative approach in establishing specific and measurable goals that focus on improving their occupational performance. um, and action planning, just developing a plan for implementing new skills and strategies that were learned in the therapy sessions and using them outside in the world, in their natural environment. And for social engagement, we also do help teach social interaction skills. So things like taking turns, interpreting body language, and navigating group settings. OT creates safe opportunities to practice these skills in ways that are meaningful and supportive to the patient. So, to go off of the cognitive behavioral approach, occupational therapy looks at the physical and sensory environment and how that impacts behavior. So, kind of what I touched on when we were talking about sensory integration. So, just helping that child or patient know what they need. So, creating a sensory diet, so it's personalized, and it also would help modify a space so it's more comfortable and less overwhelming. So incorporating calming strategies and supporting transitions, as well as creating like a daily schedule, just to assist with anxiety, yes, and an overwhelming feeling.
That is such a huge thing for this population. I think the anxiety aspect of PWS, or that comes just with having PWS, it's real, it's there, it's constant, and we I've definitely heard that any type of change in routine is very anxiety ridden. It's stressful, it's overwhelming. So an OT can really help integrate some structure and figure out how to create daily plans, like you said, and all of that.
Mhm.
So again, another just critical way that OTs can support your loved ones. Absolutely. Another topic that is very important for this community is skin picking. So, how can an OT help address behaviors like skin picking?
So OTs work to understand the root of a behavior. So skin picking is typically related to anxiety, boredom, or sensory seeking. We use replacement strategies like introducing tactile tools or activities to keep the hands engaged. So, like I was saying, using those fidgets or stickers, yeah, like a sticker board. If the patient likes arts and crafts, I know I've incorporated that a lot in my therapy sessions just to give their hands something to do as well as just building those fine motor skills. I think that's great. You're kind of doing two things at once. You're helping with the skin picking behavior as well as, their motor coordination. So we would also build routines that support regulation. It's not just about stopping a behavior, but helping someone feel more control and supported.
Right. Skin picking is definitely not something that you can ever just tell an individual with PWS to stop doing. That's not how it works in any capacity, as all of our parents know who experience this. But there are ways to help offset it a bit. So thank you for sharing those. Those are great
Yeah.
examples. Typically occupational therapy you would want to seek out, especially with a complex syndrome when you're younger, again, seeing it as a standard of care early on in life to develop those skills, integrate them long term. But it can also, in some ways, support adults as well if they haven't experienced an OT before or haven't made those integrations yet. There's still things that can be done. So, what are some of those things that you can use to support adults with developmental disabilities?
Yeah, so for adults, OT often focuses on maintaining independence and quality of life. That could include work on time management, personal organization, communication, and participating in meaningful routines and hobbies. We also address transitions like moving into new housing or joining a community program and make sure individuals have the tools they need to stay engaged and successful.
So, before we wrap up here, I have one more question. What is one thing that you'd love people to know about the value of occupational therapy?
The value of occupational therapy is all about helping people participate in the things that matter to them, whether that's building daily living skills or learning to self regulate, or even developing confidence in social settings. Like we tailor everything to the individual and we treat holistically, we treat the whole person rather than just one specific part. We see them as a person, not just their diagnosis. For someone with PWS, that could mean having the support to live a more independent, meaningful life. And that's what OT is all about.
Thank you so much, Christy, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sitting down with me and talking about this. Again, selfishly, I'm so proud of you. So I love to be able to
Mhm.
spotlight you in any chance that I get. And this was such a perfect way because it's, again, Occupational Therapy Month. You're an occupational therapist. Makes all the sense in the world. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And I hope that everyone gets occupational therapy.
So I also took what Christy said and put it into kind of a blog article format that you can find at the link in our show notes. If you want to read more about this, if you want to share it with anybody in your life to learn a little more about occupational therapy or save it for the future. So yeah, go check that out in the show notes. And a big thanks again to my dear sweet sister. All right, moving on now. Mother's Day is coming up very quickly. And we all know that mothers are incredible, and especially in this PWS community. Often the life force of the family, the caretaker, nurturer, nurse, teacher, therapist, and so much more. Mothers are providers, secretaries, the shuttle drivers, the homework assistants, cooks, housekeepers, social confidants, the ones children go to for emotional support or when they're feeling ill, and still more. Mothers do it all. We just know it. Yes, that was a long
Can you
but
tell that
very accurate list.
this was written by a mother?
This is, yes. Take all the credit, ladies. Yes, well deserved. So, of course, we are grateful for our mothers and know that you are as well. So, for this Mother's Day, we're offering space to share words of appreciation, gratitude, and celebration for the PWS mom in your life. PWSA USA would like you to share a photo and a special message for your PWS mom on our social media pages leading up to and on Mother's Day. Share with the world what it is that you appreciate about her. Ask your loved one for a special message about what she means to them, and share with our community what you appreciate about your PWS mom. So, again, please submit your photo and a message. We would like them no later than May 6th by using the link in our show notes, and you'll find the form there.
And if you want to submit one about another mom in the community that you want to see appreciated, that would be great too. Just, I think sometimes moms are a little more on top of things like this. I will say this tends to be more of a mom kind of space. So if you want to honor a fellow mom, we welcome that as well.
Now, on to our Ask Nurse Lynn section of the Pulse. This question was submitted for a male who's 38 years old with an unknown subtype. And the question submitted was, I am an LPN. We currently have an individual with PWS. We are running into several problems, one of the biggest being hygiene. This individual refuses to shower, averaging about one weekly. He has a very large growing rash across his abdominal folds. While we are here to support the individual's rights, it's becoming a health scare. This is new over the past few months. Hygiene has not always been a problem. He has also faced several changes, such as a new home and new roommates and staff. So, to read Nurse Lynn's response to this, you can go visit the link in our show notes. And as always, she has a very helpful and informative response to this question. And if you have one yourself, a non emergency medical question about Prader-Willi syndrome, you can actually find the form at that link as well and submit one for yourself. And as always, thank you to Nurse Lynn.
So we'll move on to research, and the first one is about receiving a free CME or CNE for attending the upcoming symposium recognizing and addressing hyperphagia early in Prader-Willi syndrome. Now, this is for, of course, healthcare professionals, and this will be held Saturday, April 26th at 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And this is virtual. Healthcare professionals can join PWSA USA, the Endocrine Society, and Medscape Education for this live symposium on PWS, where experts will explore the huge burden that hyperphagia represents for patients with PWS, their families, and their caregivers. They will delve into the pathophysiology and complications of hyperphagia and look to the future in a discussion around the current and emerging treatment options for hyperphagia in PWS. By incorporating patient case examples and the latest data, the faculty will exchange ideas around best practices to ensure improved quality of life for patients with PWS and those around them. There will be an opportunity for attendees to ask questions of the experts during this symposium. Please note that this is only for healthcare professionals to attend, so that would be pediatricians, endocrinologists, psychiatrists, geneticists, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, nurses, and other clinicians who care for patients with PWS in the United States. PWS families, please share this opportunity with the healthcare professionals in your life, and you will find a link for that registration in the show notes. And so our other two sections for this, we've gone over them before, and so I'll just kind of mention them briefly here and make sure that I include links. But we are offering a clinical scholarship to support providers in enhancing their understanding of PWS through clinical proctorships with experts in the field. If you want to learn more about that, there will be a link to that in the show notes. And we also have our call for LOIs, letters of intent for new PWS research grants. The research priorities are to gather knowledge about PWS, support the application of therapies, and recruit new investigators to the field. So there are two different types of funding, and the deadline for letters of intent is for August 1st, 2025. An announcement of the award will be made on November 14th. And if you'd like to learn more about that, you can follow the link in our show notes.
And then to end here, we do have a resource spotlight to share. This is the Find Your Voice webinar series. So check out our series of 4 webinars on advocating for PWS healthcare on our YouTube channel. Topics include health advocacy, strategies, tools, and resources, common urgent health topics like pain, high pain threshold, respiratory concerns, temperature regulation problems, GI problems, fragile bones, skin picking, food seeking, and weight management, concerns for the hospitalized person with PWS, like ER information, anesthesia, post-op monitoring, medication sensitivity, and food security, mental health crises and getting help, like differentiating between typical PWS behavior and a mental health diagnosis, and identifying and treating serious mental health issues. Visit the link in our show notes to watch those 4 great webinars. And Annie, I know you wanted to share something very exciting, a learning moment that you went through over the weekend. So I really wanted to end with that because I know it was a big moment in your house.
Yeah. So Freya had a sleepover on Friday. This is her new friend, well, newish friend. She came at the beginning of the year, and we've had her stay at our house, but this was like a real sleepover. She went home with her after school. They did snacks. She put a dress on. They curled each other's hair. Or well, she had her hair curled. They did they painted nails. And then they went to the middle school dance, and she went home back there afterwards. And I went to pick her up on Saturday morning. The mom said it was a perfect sleepover, and Freya had a great time. So yeah,
That's
it was really
amazing.
I was really concerned,
Mm.
or not concerned, but I was worried. I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was a little different diet there. I had stressed the
Mm-hmm.
importance of portion control.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't wanna overwhelm them with all of the all the food stuff, and as a single mom,
Sure.
and so I felt comfortable with that, and it was great. Yeah, so Freya had a wonderful time, and it was just really she was so excited and so happy to go, and it felt really like because she sees her sister do this kinda stuff, so I think it just really helped her feel like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a part of this life too." I don't know.
No,
So
no, that's super understandable. And I think, yeah, having a younger sister, I can imagine she's sometimes like, wait, why can't,
yeah.
I just get up and do that? Or you just say yes immediately, to a question like you just said yes to Rona for. So yeah, I can understand that fully. And I'm really glad that she got to experience that and that it went so well. That's all you wanted to. I'm sure hearing that on the other, or when you picked her up, I assume she
Uh-huh.
said it was a perfect sleepover.
Well, it was in a text. Yeah, I got the text,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was like, "Whew, okay." But
Ooh,
when
sigh
I
of
picked
relief.
her up and we were walking out of the house, the mom said that she loves having that her daughter has such a nice, sweet friend.
Mm,
And I
that's
said, "Well, I
amazing.
feel the same about your daughter." So here we are.
Oh,
So yeah, it was good. So it is
awesome.
possible. It's really nice. It's really nice to know that, yeah, it's possible to find those people that are more
Mhm,
understanding and
mhm.
compassionate and kind and
Willing to help make adjustments to
yeah,
keep your loved one safe and comfortable. Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. I love that, Annie. I'm so excited for you and Freya. And really quick before we sign out here, I did want to give just a little plug for next week's episode. We're going to be joined by Aardvark Therapeutics, some of their top people on their team, their chief medical officer and their CEO and founder.
Wow.
So I know I'm so excited for people to hear this one, but they're going to talk about their phase 3 clinical trial for ARD 101, and that's a treatment that is focusing on helping with the hyperphagia symptom of PWS. So that just launched recently, and they have finally come out with some news and information about it that we can't wait to share with the community. So make sure you tune in next Tuesday to hear that conversation. And I'm also going to be joined by Dorothea Lance on that show as well. So we look forward to sharing that with everyone then.
Yeah. All right. So thanks all for listening. And if you haven't yet, please go leave a rating and a review wherever you listen, because that helps people find us. That's my little plug. I'm going to go now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.